We'll also have live pictures coming in from the Harris and Trump campaign rallies. And there will also be various live pictures from our cameras across the country. Right now, we're looking at live voting as it happens in California, a state that is expected to side with Democrats tonight in the presidential race, but where Donald Trump recently held a campaign rally in the Coachella Valley. We also have a live look from the East Coast at Florida, which has been a battleground state in the past, but now is considered in the Republican win column for the presidential election. Polls are still open for a few hours, but we already have some insights as to how voters are feeling. That's thanks to AP Votecast, our expansive survey of voters and non-voters that aims to tell the story behind election results in America, why the winners won, and the issues that voters care about. This is our first chance tonight to see what voters are thinking as their votes are soon to be counted. Joining me now is Ashley TRיודC of KFF, one of AP's partners on this election night. Ashley, thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the most important issues to voters. What are we seeing in the AP Votecast data that they're saying is most important as they cast their votes?
Yeah, we're doing our first look at the data of an AP Votecast. As you mentioned, it's a survey of over 110,000 voters nationwide, and the economy is looming largest for voters. What we're seeing is about 4 in 10 voters said economy and jobs was the most important issue facing the country.
You know, I spent more than a year on the campaign trail covering this campaign, and every time I would ask voters, tell me your top 5 issues, it was very rare that the economy wasn't 1 or 2. So I guess that's bearing out through the campaign season all the way here to Election Day.
Yeah, it's consistent with what we saw in pre-election polls as well throughout the campaign cycle. So after the economy, we see immigration as the second issue. So about 2 in 10 voters said immigration was the most important issue. And that's followed by abortion, with about 1 in 10 voters saying abortion is the most important issue facing the country.
Definitely some interesting through lines to see, even through the primary season and general election campaign, that those issues seem to have remained top of mind for a lot of those voters.
Absolutely. And when we ask people about the nation's economy, I think it's interesting that 3 times the share of voters say that the economy is poor than say it is excellent. So it's really resonating heavily with voters.
That is interesting. So how are voters feeling? What are their overall, it sounds like there might be a big answer here, but what are they saying about how they're feeling about how the country is going or what they want to come from this election?
Yeah, as you guessed, amid this kind of economic unhappiness, we're seeing 7 in 10 voters saying that the country is headed in the wrong direction, and about 8 in 10 voters said that they are wanting substantial change or complete and total upheaval in the direction of the country.
Wow, it's so interesting when we talked about this being an unprecedented campaign, but when you have one candidate who's part of the current administration and another candidate who had his own administration, when voters are saying that they want something different, it is interesting, particularly given the candidates that they have.
Yes, voters are definitely wanting change this election.
Thank you so much. We will hear a lot more from AP Votecast and from your insights. So we'll be back with you for more information from Votecast later, but we'll come back in just a moment to talk about what to watch for tonight as polls begin to close and votes are counted. We'll leave you now with these live images coming into us from Michigan. That's one of those 3 critical blue wall battleground states where both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris have campaigned heavily and which has a total of 15 electoral votes up for grabs. Back in a moment.
From the Associated Press, this is an Election 2024 update. Live from Washington, here is Meg Kennard.
Welcome back. Millions of voters are casting their ballots across the country, and some of the first polls will begin to close within this hour in Kentucky and Indiana. As you see in AP's live voting map next to me, it's still blank now. But as the night goes on, states will fill in, lighting up in red for Republican wins and blue for Democratic wins. Each state has a designated number of electoral votes, and a candidate needs a total of 270 to win the presidency. You can see the bar across the top of the map, which will keep track of each candidate's totals. And the outcome is very likely to come down to a handful of battleground states, those pivotal places where candidates have been focusing most of their energy and resources. With me now is AP White House correspondent Sagar Meghani to talk more about what we're watching tonight. Sagar, welcome. So much of this campaign, we've been talking about these battleground states. Remind us exactly which places we're talking about and why they're so important.
Yes, you see these 7 states in purple. You go to the East Coast first. You have Georgia, you have North Carolina. Then you go out west, you have Arizona, you have Nevada. But then you look kind of up to the top where you have Pennsylvania, you have Michigan, you have Wisconsin. That is the so-called blue wall. These have been Democratic strongholds in presidential races for years, going back to the 90s. Donald Trump tore down that wall in 2016. He took all 3 of those states and took the White House along with them. Joe Biden came back and rebuilt the wall. He won all 3 in 2020. So this campaign really is all about trying to score those 3 and at least picking off some of those other battleground states. Keep in mind, these are 7 states that account for less than a fifth of the American population,
Wow.
but they are going to play an outsized role in what happens come January 20th.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with those western battlegrounds. There's Arizona, there's Nevada. What has it been like out there, and what does recent history show us as to why they're so important this year?
Well, first off, they haven't gotten nearly as much attention from the candidates as have Pennsylvania, as have Georgia, and some of those other states. Nevada is the smallest prize of the 7 battlegrounds, already 6 electoral votes on the line there, but again, a pivotal 6. Joe Biden was the first Democrat to win years in Arizona, so can Kamala Harris follow in his footsteps and pull that off, or is Donald Trump going to show some supremacy going further out west?
What about the ones in the South, North Carolina and Georgia? I know both of those states had a lot of rebuilding to do after Hurricane Helene, before voting was supposed to start. How have hurricane politics really played into some of what we've seen in those 2 battlegrounds?
They were going to get visits from these 2 campaigns either way, just because of their importance, but then you can turn it into, we're here to help. In Trump's case, it was the federal government. The Harris-Biden administration is not helping you. I'm here to help. For Harris, it was showing that we can help. There was a lot of question, a lot of uncertainty about, like you said, how the hurricane damage would hurt people voting in western North Carolina,
Right.
which would be a GOP stronghold. But officials there say that they were basically able to work a miracle and that their polling outpaced other parts of the state leading up until today. So that does not seem like it's going to be much of a factor at all. With that said, North Carolina, reliably Republican. Can Kamala Harris pull it off there?
So interesting. And we've heard so much about the battleground states, but it's really good to just kind of be reminded of how they came to be and why there's so much focus. So I really appreciate those insights.
Watch that purple.
Yep, we'll be talking a lot more about them tonight. But coming up, a conversation on the role that AP plays in U.S. elections. We'll leave you now with a quick look from AP's Nandini Gupta at why the U.S. uses the Electoral College in presidential contests. Back in about 5 minutes. See you soon.
Thanks, Meg. Have you ever wondered why a candidate can win the popular vote and not the White House? Isn't the whole point of voting so that people get to decide who gets to be president? Well, not exactly, and that's thanks to the Electoral College. The Electoral College was made in 1787 as a compromise between people who wanted the popular vote versus Congress to decide the president. So for now, a group of electors chosen by each state gets to pick the president. It's also up to each state to decide how these electors are chosen. The Electoral College is made up of 538 electors. To win, a candidate must secure at least half or at least 270 electoral votes. It would take a constitutional amendment to abolish the Electoral College, something that's never gained that much traction. For the Associated Press, I'm Nandini Gupta.
From the Associated Press, this is an Election 2024 update. Live from Washington, here is Meg Kanar.
Welcome back. AP has a big role on election night, tallying votes across the country and providing careful and thorough analysis of the latest available vote totals, as well as a variety of other election data. Joining me now is Anna Johnson, AP's Washington Bureau Chief. Anna, welcome.
Thank you. So glad to be here, Meg.
I know this is beyond a busy night for you, but I really appreciate you taking a minute just to explain to us a little bit about AP's role. What exactly are we as the AP doing tonight? What's our job?
So, in U.S. democracy, there is no national body or federal entity that tallies up all the votes for president and says who wins. So way back in 1848, yes, 1848, the AP stepped into this role and tallied up the votes and declared Zachary Taylor the president. We've been doing that ever since. It's obviously changed quite a bit, but the AP's been doing that ever since then. And this year, as you've noted, we're going to call the races, call about 5,000 contested races this year. So it's grown obviously from the presidency, all the Senate races, the House races, governor races, other statewide races, all the way to state legislative races and some municipal elections as well.
Wow, that is such a huge job that we've been doing for a long time. But these days, how do we do it? How do we get the information that enables AP to declare winners in all those contests?
So it's a massive operation. We often joke that it's the single largest act of journalism anywhere, and it kind of is. We'll have about 4,000 vote count reporters all over the country tonight. They're all in the election county offices, town offices, wherever local election officials are counting the vote and putting out results. We have people there getting those results. They then call those results into our vote entry center. They check it, double check it, triple check it, make sure that those results are correct. We also take in information from pretty much any kind of data feed, website, any other way that our election officials are releasing vote total information. And then we analyze all that. We check it and then we analyze it. And
From the Associated Press, this is an Election 2024 update. Live from Washington, here is Meg Kanar.
We're coming to you now with another round of poll closings and more AP race calls. The Associated Press has declared Donald Trump the winner in the state of West Virginia. AP has also declared Republican Jim Justice the winner of the Senate race in that same state. Let's take a look at our live voting map, which you see next to me. You can see now that West Virginia is lit up in red for Trump. Voting has also ended in 3 additional states, Ohio and North Carolina. It is too early to call the race in those states, but we will be back to you with more information. Join me to talk about these AP race calls and much more is Sagar Magani. Hello. So let's talk about West Virginia. Is this a surprise for Donald Trump? You're shaking your head. I can already tell what you're going to say. This was expected.
This was expected. He ran up huge wins in 2016 and 2020. So a win in West Virginia shortly after poll closing, not even the slightest bit of a surprise that we've now added that to Donald Trump and given him another 4 electoral votes.
As our viewers can see on the top of their screen, that metric that's showing them the electoral votes for each candidate. So now Donald Trump is adding more to his side. What about the Senate race? So I have been following this race a little bit, and I can already tell you that people are probably starting to wonder if they're going to see baby dog Justice coming to the Senate here in Washington. Was this a surprise in the West Virginia Senate race?
It also was not a surprise, and it's an important thing to keep in mind tonight with, of course, naturally, almost all the attention on the presidential race. Control of Congress is in the balance tonight. Both the Senate, which the Democrats now hold coming into tonight, 51-49, and Republicans with a very slim House majority. That Senate, as of this moment, is now evenly split because Jim Justice is a Republican. He took Joe Manchin's place, Democrat/independent, who opted not to run again. So right now, with several more competitive Senate races, it is 50-50, and depending on who wins the presidency, control of Congress becomes a very, very big deal.
Speaking of one of those Senate races, polls are closed now in Ohio, where there is a very active Senate race. What are we looking toward happening there? Do you think that we'll see results there anytime soon?
It could be soon. It will not be soon enough for Sherrod Brown. He is the incumbent 2-term Democratic senator who was in a very tough fight against Bernie Moreno, who's a Cleveland businessman. Donald Trump backs him. This has been a very tough race, and Sherrod Brown is seen as one of those Democrats who stands a very good chance of losing his seat. And again, as we said, at this moment, a 50-50 Senate, that becomes 51-49 Republicans if Sherrod Brown cannot hang on to win a 3rd straight term.
The last of those states where voting is closing at this hour is North Carolina. That's one of the battlegrounds. We've been talking about it. We can see it with its other battleground friends here on this map. Again, remind us, when do you think we'll start to see some information coming in from North Carolina?
North Carolina tends to be among the earlier states, the quicker states to count its votes. Now, how quickly that will go based on some of that damage in western North Carolina from the hurricanes, which by all accounts has done a great job actually conducting the voting. Now the question is how quickly they can count those votes. So whereas you would usually get fairly quick results in North Carolina, might take a little bit longer than it usually does this time.
Got it. We will keep an eye out for more info, and we'll be back with you soon. Thank you all for being with us. At the top of the next hour, we will have more poll closings. Actually, the night's biggest round, 16 states plus the District of Columbia. That's a total of 171 electoral votes, including 19 from that battleground state of Pennsylvania. We'll leave you right now with live pictures as they come into us from New Hampshire, up in New England. Back with you soon with more AP race calls and poll closing information.